Hello everyone, I'm Jack and I'm back. And today we're going to look at the Grullon. There's a list of, I don't know, a dozen or so issues that need to be resolved. One of them is the fact that it's inconsistent about restarting, and for some reason when I hit the schrader valve on the fuel rail, it starts right up usually, even when before it would just crank and crank. I have no clue why it's doing that. Doesn't make any sense at all to me, but we're going to look at it. So I didn't have a fuel pressure gauge, so I went to Harbor Freight and I bought this. I found some on Amazon. All of them get both good and bad reviews. There's a Harbor Freight like 5 miles from here, or less than 10 miles from here. So I went and got that last night. So I have it set up right here. It looks like it happens to have the right schrader valve straight out of the box. Not sure. It does have a lot of adapters for different vehicles so that you can use it. And let's look at the gauge itself. It seems to measure all the way from 0 to 100 psi. So let's see. Okay, so there is the schrader valve for the fuel rail. If you look, there's the fuel line. That orange is not the fuel line itself. It's an insulator to help keep heat away from it. And if you look, the fuel line itself is braided stainless underneath. And then it comes into the joint right here. There's the fuel rail on the driver's side, and then there's the fuel rail on the passenger side, and then there's a crossover. Don't know exactly what that is right there. Maybe somebody can let me know. Before I do this, let's go to the other side. Now, I had issues with this when I picked up the car and they replaced the fuel pump and the fuel filter, they said. So there's the fuel filter, and then the fuel pump, if it's like every other C5, C6, the fuel pump itself is inside of the gas tank. This is the gas tank. And don't see anything here. Was wondering if there was something I could see. At one point, there was a float that came up when I was filling it up. It was rather strange. So at some point, I might have to look at that. Okay, so you can see the fuel line down here, comes out of the tank, comes up to the filter, and then it goes across here, and then across the engine, and then over to the driver's side. So again, the line is the same. It's braided stainless all the way through. And it's all new, so I don't suspect there's any issues with the line itself. Okay, so the next thing to do is put the schrader valve. It's been sitting overnight. I started it last night and it wouldn't start initially. I bled it. Oh, that's right. I bled it initially just to see if it had pressure after sitting for a week, and it did. So I said, okay, it's at least holding pressure for a week. Of course, I didn't know how much. I just know when I pushed on the schrader, it spurted gas out, and that's on that video. All right, but it's really hard to get in there and do that if you saw. So this will also help with that because it has a little relief right here. So that should allow me to bleed it off. It has a generous hose here so that I don't get gas on the car. So ideally, I'll be able to screw this on and see what the resting pressure is. Okay, but you can see, wow, I mean, I just barely touched it and it dripped fuel. And it is still, so this might not be an accurate pressure reading because of that. So it reads no pressure. So it could have bled out while I was doing that. You can see it did leak gas down in there. Right, you can see it. All right. Well, now I have to go get a key because I was expected to at least get a reading there. All right, give me a second and I'll be right back. All right, so now I've got a key and my assistant, my lovely assistant, is going to handle that part. My arm's not long enough to reach both the gauge and the key. So right now you can see I have the gauge screwed in to the schrader valve, but it reads 0 pressure. So what I'm going to have her do is turn on the key and the fuel pump should come on and the pressure gauge should come up. So hit it. Nope. There we go. All right. So the idea is you turn it on and the fuel pump automatically comes on. And so we were going to wait for it to build up fuel pressure before we tried to start it.
Okay.
Okay. But it's the same. It doesn't matter. So you can see right now it's at 60 PSI just from the fuel pump kicking. And then, did you turn it all the way off or is it still on? It's still on, but not started.
But not started.
All right. So go ahead and try to start it and we'll see what happens. There we go. Wow, look at that.
What's happening?
It started and then the fuel pressure goes up, pegs the gauge, and goes way over. It only goes up to 100 and it's way past 100. So maybe someone could tell me what that means, if anything. I don't know. That seems like excessive fuel pressure to me. All right. Rev it up and see if it makes any difference. It shouldn't because it's electric. Okay. So now turn it off and we'll see if the gauge drops. Alright, so far it's maintaining the obscenely high fuel pressure. So, alright, start it again and it should start right up. Once it starts and it's cold, there's usually no issue at all. So it's now on in what would most cars would be the ignition position, and it's just sitting there holding pressure. So I'll come back in a little bit and check it again. I don't see the gauge moving. Let me see, I'll watch it. Maybe it is slightly, which I would expect it to come down slightly from that obscenely high fuel pressure. And okay, so now turn it completely off and let's see what happens.
Oh, it was completely off.
There, okay.
Oh, okay.
All right, well, all I can do is let it sit for a while and, sorry, the thing, see what happens.
Can I get out? I'm having flashbacks of our misadventure.
Nightmares, is that what you're telling me? Okay. Okay. So, but anyway, I'm going to go ahead and post this as it is, and maybe somebody can give me some hints as to what to look for. It looks like there's not a fuel pressure regulator in here, if you ask me. So, I don't know. Okay, like, subscribe, hit the alert, hit the thanks, and if you don't like what we're doing, you don't know Jack. Bye.